Hey, I'm Caroline, and the summer of 2020 has kept me anchored at home in the UK. So I've embarked on a 2-week road trip around a small part of the Scottish Islands and Highlands. So far, I've undertaken hikes that have rewarded me with magnificent views, discovered pretty beaches, and ticked off some bucket list sites that made their way onto my list thanks to their appearance in well-known movies. In today's episode, I'll be exploring more of the Assynt Region with activities perfect for road tripping the NC500 too. We'll take a walk up to the Bone Caves and go looking for a waterfall I once saw on Google Maps. Having driven a little bit further north from Ullapool, we're now well and truly into the Northwest Highlands Geopark, and we've come to do a walk that is called the Bone Caves. So it's going to take us to a cave where we're probably not going to be able to find any bones, but back in 1889 some bones from animals that don't exist here in Scotland anymore were discovered. So the first ones were bear bones and reindeer bones, and since then more have been found, such as lemmings, the Arctic fox, I think lynx as well. My understanding is that all of the bones have been removed from the caves and put in local museums, and obviously with COVID-19 a lot of things are still shut, but we're going to certainly have a wander along to the cave system. It's quite a highly regarded walk. When we were booking our boat tickets yesterday, the guy was asking us what else are we planning on doing whilst here, and we're saying maybe doing the Bone Caves, and his reaction quite quickly was like, oh yeah, they're great. So we've got these high expectations for it, but I'm calling it a walk rather than a hike because I think it's quite a relatively short there and back. We'll go along, see what there is to see on this walk. Maybe the information told us that there was a waterfall on this walk, but I just didn't pay enough attention to it. But it's a nice surprise.
Tony strawberry, which I have just found. I can only assume is cultivated by some kind of race of tiny gnomes that are native to this here waterfall. Like quite a placid pool of water, and then I realised that there was a very small stream of water coming off of a trickle of a waterfall from the rocks, and yet the stream's absolutely gushing to the other side of us here, and it must be some kind of underground spring that is forcing all of this water out, because it's certainly not coming directly from the exterior of the hillside. Again, this region completely continues to fascinate me. It's things that I've learned about, reading about from textbooks on the internet, but actually getting to see these things firsthand. It just seems like every single twist and turn at the moment is continuing to surprise me. Over the river that's now completely dry. These two ladies came towards us, and very nicely they pointed out to us that there's a lot of deer on the other side of the hills, which we would have completely missed because obviously we've got our backs to them. It turns out that actually there's a bit of a deer problem. They have, I'm trying to think what they actually call it, I think it's deer stalking, but what that does in essence mean is that towards the end of the calendar year people come out and they kill the deer just to
try and keep control of the numbers of them. My understanding is there are no predators now that hunt the deer naturally. Somehow wolves that used to exist up here have died out. I know that over in the Cairngorms, wolves have been reintroduced over there, and that could be to help with the deer numbers, but this Inchnadamph estate, my understanding is there aren't any wolves around here, and so instead they do this culling every year. But because the numbers are so huge, it does mean that we've gotten lucky and we've been able to see some deer. There's also been discoveries of human bones, which I know sounds a little bit scary, but not in recent times. They were found about 4,500 years ago, so one would assume it might have been people who lived nearby and they've come to these caves to take a little bit of respite from the very, very harsh winters that we have up here. It would be really cool if we had a bit more variety of wildlife in Great Britain. Just the idea of being able to do things like bear spotting or reindeer spotting, Arctic fox spotting, like all of these animals would be awesome to see. And it's crazy to think that once upon a time, actually, the climate that we had here in Great Britain at one time, it was ideal living for those animals. Was really busy when we arrived, and we managed to nab the last spot, so we were fully expecting that when we got up to the caves we weren't going to have them to ourselves and that it would be quite busy. We were really fortunate. When we arrived up here, no one was here. We passed a lot of people who were making their way back down from the caves, and just about the time that we're wrapping up and we've seen everything that we want to see up here, another group's just arrived. So I think we're going to wrap this up now so that we can leave them with a little bit of time up here on their own with the same level of solitude. Really not much effort at all to get up here, just a tiny bit of uphill at the end, but for the most part it was just a really nice amble along a stream and then a dried up riverbed. It's been absolutely beautiful, like the whole way up. Just amazing caves at the end. It's got some really nice history to them. Just not much effort, but big wins with what you actually get to see. This has been a good hike in my opinion, or a walk, not a hike. And there were two. I think, to be honest, there's only two of us because my other half doesn't really want me coming out here exploring on my own. Now this is something that I saw using Google Maps, and someone has done the little camera thing that does the 360 degree. It's supposed to be quite a spectacular waterfall that goes down into, I would guess more like a gorge rather than a valley, but it comes from a loch up at the top. And this is not a hike, it's not a walk that I've read about anywhere. We've just pulled up on the side of the road as to where I think it might be, and we're just walking across the top now trying to find it. It's a little bit boggy in places, like this part that I've just come to here. Bear with me a moment whilst I just jump. I think my other half wasn't entirely happy with me coming out here on my own, so he's come with me, but everyone else has given up. Everyone else is back at the cottage now just chilling out, but I want just this one last little look in this area since we had a few more hours before dinner time. Started getting really boggy, so we just figured let's just whack out the drone and let's just have a look at what's further along. So we've got a little bit of drone shots, and then of course, being Scotland, what happened? The heavens have decided to open. So we're now just trying to quickly run back to the car, because whilst I've got my rain mac, my other half doesn't. So we are on quite a exposed ridge here, so it is quite windy, and this rain is pretty icy cold. So try and get back to the car as quickly as possible. After that rain shower up at the waterfall, we've decided to drive back to our cottage at Leadmore Junction, and just on the road on the way back, just off to the left hand side, we looked out. I think we were first of all distracted by quite a pretty looking white cottage, and then we realised that on the grass there's actually some stags, which is different to what we've seen earlier on our trip. So we've just pulled over real quick just to get some quick shots and some video footage. Join me in the next episode when in one day alone I'll have all weather conditions thrown at me. I'll go in search of some of the nicest beaches that I think mainland Scotland has to offer, and get to know some of the not so wild wildlife along the way. If you've not done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can join me in my Scottish adventures.